Welcome back into North Dakota. Today we are cooking with Cashway. Randall, we're working on our Brussels sprouts recipe here. Now, what do we have in front of us here? Obviously, Brussels sprouts.
Okay, so remember we trimmed them in the previous segment.
Yes.
We then put the axes in there, and then we cooked these in salted boiling water until they're just knife tender. So when I go in there and I pierce it with the knife, it just goes through. Okay?
So that's how you kind of figure out when you're done. It's not necessarily a time thing. It's more of just
more of a yes.
Got it.
Yep. All right, let's put half of that on there.
Okay, and these are
Those are the caramelized onions. So remember, we started out with that big pan of onions, and now we have that.
Okay.
And that's gold right there.
Is that the technical term?
Yeah. Now remember, these are already seasoned. The onions are already seasoned. I did spray the bottom of the pan with a little food release.
Okay.
And yep, maybe a little bit more.
A little more? Gotcha.
Yeah.
And again, if you're missing any part of this recipe, you can find the full recipe for yourself.
Right.
On Valley.
This one is, again, one of those things that you can do ahead of time. You can caramelize the onions ahead of time. You can blanch the Brussels sprouts ahead of time. You can even build this thing ahead of time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then when your guests arrive, it's into the oven for 15 minutes, which we're going to do.
Okay, gotcha. And so it's right just like this, just the Brussels sprouts and the caramelized onions, or are we missing
that's
anything?
it. No, that's it. Well, I'm going to put a little cheese on there.
Okay.
Now, again, if it's vegetarian, vegan, I might choose a little differently. But other than that,
Well, we're not. We don't have to worry about
No.
that. So should we put some cheese on there now, or do we wait?
I want to
until-
spread it a little bit more.
Oh, gotcha. I'll let you
a
go
little
in.
more better distribution here.
Got it. I got to work on my caramelized onion distribution. So I'm glad we're here at Cashway Distributing.
So this is a family favorite that a lot of people look forward to at the holidays in my family.
Love that. You can see the Brussels sprouts are kind of even, just moving with the spoon, they're kind of squishing a little bit. So yeah, they're definitely tender.
All right, so we're going to go in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes, and we'll be done.
Gotcha. We'll see you in not quite 10 to 12 minutes. We'll see you in just a second. Okay. So
So now we have our gratin finished.
it was in the oven for about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
there.
about 10, yep. Again, that's something that can be completely done ahead of time and just finish at the end. Now, I've done this recipe a number of different ways. You can use different kinds of cheese if you want. It really doesn't matter.
What kind of cheese is on this one?
This is Parmesan, but you could go to, like a Gruyere would be really, really good. That's the cheese that's in French onion soup.
fancy cheese.
Because here's the thing. We got caramelized onion, which is in French onion soup.
This is practically French onion soup.
It's French onion soup, Brussels sprout.
And then you get a Brussels sprout base rather than soup.
Rather than the broth, absolutely. But when I said gold, one of the things that there's a lot of things you can do with these caramelized onions. One of my favorite things is to make a quiche with this.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it's just amazing the flavor that you get off of it. So caramelized onions have a lot of ways to do it. We are going to be making a biscuit coming up, but you could also use that caramelized onion in a biscuit.
Wow, okay. I never would have thought
And
of
then
that.
also it has some of that same qualities that fat does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never would have thought about
So I've made sausages with that to keep that salt, to keep that
What can't you
the
do with
fat
caramelized onions?
well, make a cake.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. We will not be making a cake with caramelized onions anytime soon.
Well, should we try
Cooking
this?
with Cashway. Yes, please. I'm very interested in this one. It's very hot. Ooh.
But see how much, see when we cut them in half, they're even easier to eat than if they were whole.
I gotcha.
But I mean, there's still
they come
there's
apart
still
very
some give
easily.
to that.
Yeah.
And if you want your Brussels sprouts a little bit more done, then you can certainly take them that far.
Grab a little bit of cheese here. Oops. Okay. Try not to use your hands. Don't be like me. Be better. Very good. Oh, a lot of flavor with the caramelized onion.
And in here, it's just, taking the flavor of those onions, the flavor of the Brussels sprout, a little bit of cheese, not overcomplicating it.
And see, my problem is I would definitely have about 6 pounds of cheese on the top of that one.
And sometimes we don't need to do that, right?
This one you definitely didn't.
Yep.
Now you mentioned, just real quick before we go, you mentioned that you can cook it a little bit longer if you wanted to. Kind of what does the different time frames look like when you have a dish like this?
So, I mean, you see that we get this this browning around the edges. So if you want a little bit more distinctive browning,
Gotcha.
you could certainly, if you have a broiler, you could put that under there.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yes, I mean, it's warm enough that the Brussels sprouts would cook through.
Find a way to cook this dish best for you. If you want to see the recipe, you can find it on our website, Valerie'sLife.com. So now we are cooking with Cashway on North Dakota today.